In September 1944, the Royal Air Force created a firestorm which laid waste to much of Darmstadt. By the end of the war, 99% of the city centre had been destroyed. Only some of the ruins were rebuilt in their original form. Most were replaced, and Darmstadt today is a mix of the old and new in often jarring juxtaposition. Darmstadt was an unremarkable settlement until Emperor Louis IV of the Holy Roman Empire gave it a city charter in 1330. This meant fortifications could be built, although only fragments remain. The White Tower was originally part of these fortifications. In 1704, it was remodelled as a clock tower. A castle was also built in Darmstadt, and over the centuries it was added to and altered. In 1567, the Landgraviate of Hesse was divided into two, and Darmstadt became the capital of Hesse-Darmstadt. The last major alterations to the castle, now a ducal palace, were made in 1726. What's happening at the moment is extensive renovation work. The marketplace may be the oldest square in Darmstadt. Markets have been held here since 1330. The old city hall was built at the turn of the 17th century, replacing an earlier version that was only 30 years old, and that had been built to replace an even earlier city hall, built sometime before 1397 and demolished to make the marketplace bigger. A little way away, the Pedagogue, a 17th century grammar school, is still used for educational purposes today, and also houses a theatre in the cellar. It's not known how old the city church is. It was a small chapel in the 14th century and continually added to since. The last addition was the new belfry as late as 1952. It was originally dedicated to the Virgin Mary, as symbolised by the lily in the city's coat of arms, but was made Protestant in 1526. The first Catholic church to be built in Hesse-Darmstadt after the Reformation was St. Louis, which was completed in 1827. The marketplace lost much of its importance in the early 19th century as a new plaza took shape, Luisenplatz. It became the centre of Darmstadt's political life, but the only historic building now remaining is the Kollegiengebäude, housing administrative offices. The plaza is named after the wife of Grand Duke Louis I, the first Grand Duke of Hesse-Darmstadt, whose monument stands in the middle. The 18th century Prince George Palace was built as a summer residence for the second son of the Landgrave. Later, Grand Duke Ernest Louis turned it into a museum of porcelain, which opened in 1908 and is still there. It backs onto a garden, which is still laid out in its original Rococo style. The murals on the Pretlack Garden House were restored in 2001. The building itself contains shelves of books which anyone is free to take out and read in the garden. The old theatre was originally built in 1819, burnt down in 1871 and rebuilt in 1879. It's now no longer a theatre, but home to the Hessian State Archive. Not much of pre-20th century Darmstadt survives, and many important historic buildings were never rebuilt. The State Theatre, for example, stands on the site and grounds of the 19th century New Palace, destroyed in the firestorm of 1944 and finally pulled down 11 years later. But while that's a shame, the early 20th century left its mark on the city, which boasts a lot of Art Nouveau architecture. Most famous of all is the Wedding Tower. Built to commemorate the Grand Duke's wedding in 1905, it is found on the Mathildenhöhe, the highest elevation in the city with spectacular views from the observation deck. And appropriately enough, It's a popular venue for weddings. Connected with the tower is an exhibition hall. The whole area was conceived by the Grand Duke as an artistic colony, and the first exhibition was in 1901. Artists could buy land cheaply and build their own houses as part of the exhibition. They were built in Art Nouveau style, which rejected classicism and took inspiration from nature. One building that defiantly isn't in keeping is the Russian chapel, built by Tsar Nicholas II because he wanted to be able to worship in an Orthodox church when visiting his in-laws. His wife was Princess Alix of Hesse-Darmstadt. Also in the area is the Alice Hospital. The main building dates from 1936, but it all started in 1863 when Princess Alice, daughter of the British Queen Victoria and wife of Grand Duke Louis IV of Hesse, set about improving public health care, especially for women who had just given birth. A monument to her stands in front of St. Louis Church. Closer to the centre is the bathing house, built in Art Nouveau style as a public swimming pool. The main train station also dates from this period and has recently been renovated. The small annex was originally the private station for VIPs, now a restaurant. But Darmstadt was to become the City of Science, a title it now officially holds. Next to the Herrengarten, Darmstadt's oldest park, is the main building of the Technical University, founded in 1877 and given university status in 1899. Among other things, it had the world's first faculty for electrical engineering. Two other universities are also located in Darmstadt, which is home to over 40,000 students. Next door to the old theatre, the Hessian State Museum was finally opened in 1906 after much delay to house the Grand Duke's art and natural history collections. The building includes a tower which had originally been designed for the ducal palace. Darmstadt's suburbs are home to the European Space Operations Centre, which controls the Rosetta probe that carried the Philae lander to a comet. They're also home to a research institute that created element 110, named Darmstadtium. This in turn gave the modern Congress Centre its name. Completed in 2014, it incorporates a fragment of the medieval city wall. Another of Darmstadt's modern attractions is this apartment block, the Waldspirale, designed by Austrian artist Friedensreich Hundertwasser, whose approach to architecture was to avoid straight lines and make buildings that were fun. It was his last project. He died in February 2000, about 7 months before the Waldspirale was finished.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, why not send me a postcard? Here's the address. Or visit Rewboss.com, follow me on Twitter, subscribe to my blog.